Hi, today we're going to be talking about IU, individual unemployability, and how it relates to sheltered work and so much more. So we hope that you'll join us. Hi, and welcome back to Hill & Ponton's VA Disability blog. I am Natalia Jofre, the company COO.
And I'm attorney Rachel Cheek.
Hi again, Rachel.
Hi.
So now we're going to talk about individual unemployability and sheltered work. We get a lot of questions about this. I think we should briefly go back to a little bit of the basics in terms of how disability ratings work and what their purpose is. And I know that we've done other videos on this and on 100% disability and whatnot, but can you give everyone a little bit of an overview just to reference back to that?
Of course. So, individual unemployability is a VA form of compensation that allows for a veteran who is not 100% disabled according to the scheduler ratings, but who is severely disabled due to service-connected conditions and is not able to work due to those conditions. Essentially, it allows veterans who fit those qualifications to be paid at the 100% rate, even though, again, they're not rated at 100%. So the requirements for this are that first, you have to be service-connected with either one condition rated at least 60%, or two or more conditions with a combined rating of 70%. So, and then the next and most important requirement is that you're not able to work due to those service-connected conditions.
And you just touched on the $1,000,000 topic because everybody always wants to know, can I get benefits? Can I work? If I can work, how much can I work? So on and so forth, so that my benefits aren't affected. So I guess the big question is, and first of all, can you just define really quickly what TDIU is?
Sure.
Is it,
TDIU is total disability, individual unemployability.
so it's just the longer form of the same term. Is
Yep.
that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. So can you work while you're receiving individual unemployability?
Absolutely not, except sometimes. So
your
that's
colleague, your colleague Ann Lynn Scott, she always says her favorite attorney term is "it depends." So that's kind of
absolutely.
like your "it depends." So explain
Yes.
that to us.
Okay, so generally when you are receiving individual unemployability, you cannot be working because the main condition, or one of the two main conditions to receive individual unemployability, is you're not working. You can't work due to these conditions. There are some very limited exceptions, and one is if a veteran is engaging in what's called marginal employment. And what that is essentially, you are working, but you're working so little, either in time or the amount that you're being paid is so little that your yearly income is not over the federal poverty guidelines. So I want to say that is around $12,000 right now. It changes every year. So that number again changes year to year, and I could be slightly off on that. But it's really a very small amount of income that you can have and still be qualified for individual unemployability. If you
Mhm.
make over that, the VA is going to start looking into that, whether you should be being paid, continue to be paid at the 100% rate or not. The other condition, which sometimes is links with marginal employment, is sheltered employment. And this is different than marginal employment in that you are making over the federal poverty threshold, but the type of employment that you have is protected. Essentially, this is going to be very limited. This isn't, you can't, as someone who's tried to argue for this before, you can't say, well, just because my employer, I'm working 40 hours a week, but my employer provides accommodations. I can leave whenever I want, or I can take breaks as needed, or, I have bad migraines, so I'm allowed to go lay down. That's good evidence in showing that your condition is disabling, but that's probably not going to cut it for sheltered employment. For sheltered employment, you need to have facts such as you're working for a family member. You're working in, a family business, then you're allowed to take as much time off as you need. You obviously, if you're being employed by family members, they're not going to hold you to the same standards necessarily that a typical employer would. And it can also be, it doesn't have to specifically be family business. It can also be the type of work that's specifically created for disabled individuals. So, an example of that might be something, the way Goodwill is run. It's Goodwill
Yes.
provides jobs for people who are disabled or who might not otherwise be able to earn a living. And the thing about sheltered employment is it's the type of job that most people wouldn't choose if they were given the option because it generally pays less. They're
Mhm.
not as they don't offer as many benefits. It doesn't offer as many opportunities for advancement. It's essentially employment that is made with the idea that the individuals who are participating in it are disabled and would otherwise be unable to work at all. So
Mhm.
again, this wouldn't shelter you couldn't argue sheltered employment if you were employed at a Fortune 500 company that your boss lets you take time off if needed.
So we, in our firm, we do both Social Security disability and veterans disability. We have a lot of clients in both departments. And so we do have a lot of veterans ask us, can I get Social Security disability benefits and not unemployment, but individual unemployability benefits at the same time? Can they get both benefits at once?
Yes.
Mhm.
I'll give you a short answer for once.
Oh, well, but wait, there's more, there's no exception?
Well, I don't want to say no exceptions, but
Yeah,
generally speaking, yes, you can receive both of
you can get
those
both.
at the same time. The reason being, so I'll give you a little more detail. The reason being is Social Security and the VA look at different factors when they're looking at disability or unemployment. So there's different things that have to be considered. Sometimes it's the same issues that are causing both that entitle you to both Social Security disability as well as individual unemployability. Sometimes they're different. So Social
Okay.
Security can look at all your disabling conditions, whereas the VA can only look at your service connected conditions.
Okay, so another question that we get a lot, Rachel, is can the VA take away the unemployability benefits once they've been granted?
Good question. So yes, if you start working again or your conditions improve. But generally, once the VA makes a finding of that individual unemployability, that a veteran's eligible for that, it's generally, not always, but generally going to be considered permanent. And the way that you'll know if it's permanent or not is if you get a decision and on issue one, individual unemployability is granted. Issue two, entitlement to dependents educational assistance benefits are granted. That's our automatic code to let us know, okay, the individual unemployability is considered permanent. And the dependents educational assistance benefits are something that honestly I don't even see used that often. It is, as the name implies, benefits for your dependents to go to school. But a
Mhm.
lot of time, what it does let us know is it lets us know that's something that when the VA allows for that, they're essentially just saying, okay, the individual unemployability is going to be considered permanent unless there's evidence that you're working or you submit evidence that your conditions improve. They're not going to take it away. If you start working, first you need to tell the VA, let them know, go ahead and let them know, hey, I've started working. I don't need the IU benefits anymore. Because if you don't, the VA does run like I'm not sure quite how they do it, but it's like a database check against Social Security,
Yeah.
and they'll compare they'll have your income every year, and if they notice that your income goes up and it goes over that poverty threshold, then that's going to start raising some big red flags for them because if you're bringing in money that you're not telling the VA about and they're paying you at the 100% rate, they're going to, especially due to individual unemployability, they're going to raise a whole big issue of overpayment, because if you're getting individual unemployability because you're not working, but actually you are working, they've been paying you this extra money, sometimes extra couple thousand of dollars every month, that they're going to want to be paid back, and that is something that you really don't want to have to deal with. It is a huge pain. I've come across that multiple times, and it's always a nightmare to try to resolve an overpayment issue. So my advice is to just go ahead. It's okay if you can work again. That's actually great. Like, I'm glad, but let the VA
Right.
know before they find out on their own.
Just don't keep getting the benefits. Yeah. We
Exactly.
see that a lot in Social Security cases, and people often wonder, how did they know? Or I wasn't even making that much or whatever. And it's like, whenever you work, you pay into Social Security tax, and they
Mhm.
know you're on benefits. So they just look at your earnings record. And the minute you start showing earnings after your date of disability of your granted award benefits, it's immediate and they're alerted. And believe me, the government knows how much you're getting in VA. They know how much you're getting in Social Security. They know if you're working, who you're working for, how much you're making. So it's going to catch up to you eventually. And we've even had cases where the veteran or the disabled person did notify Social Security and said, and the VA, and said, hey, I shouldn't be getting these benefits anymore. I've gone back to work, and they've continued to pay them. That doesn't mean that they're not going to eventually charge you with an overpayment. Like, once that happens, you should save that money, because eventually they are going to want it back.
Mhm.
Claiming, well, they kept sending it to me, so I figured I was entitled to it and just kept using it. Unfortunately, it does eventually catch up with you, and they normally don't accept that as a legitimate explanation.
Yeah, you got to think about how many excuses in the book that even good reasons the VA's heard. They're not super sympathetic,
No.
as we
So,
know.
yeah. We talked a little bit about 100% disability ratings. Is there something specifically different about TDIU versus 100% disability rating that vets should keep in mind?
So the biggest difference is your actual combined rating is going to be different. If you're receiving individual unemployability, and you can have a rating again anywhere from 60% up to 90%, and you don't have that 100% scheduler combined rating. So that's going to be the first thing, is your combined rating is going to look different. And the second thing is that you can work if you all have 100% rating. Now, generally, if you've got a rating like that, it's pretty serious enough that it would likely prevent you from working. But I definitely have had clients who, might have back injuries, or, orthopedic injuries or things like that. And they're able to work from home, work on the computer, things like that. And that would allow you can continue working and receive 100% disability at the same time, as long as as long as the 100% benefits are not coming from a finding of individual unemployability. And also, you can't have 100% rating and individual unemployability at the same time. You're not going to get paid twice at the
Right.
100% rate. um, what I'll see a lot of times is, I have seen a lot of times, is veterans, for a period of time, they'll be receiving individual unemployability, and then eventually their other appeals get caught up to the court, and they get 100% rating schedularly. And then in that case, there'll be a note on their file that IU payments have been discontinued because now you have 100% rating,
Right.
and vice versa.
How common are the IU cases? Um,
Extremely. That's a large part of our work. I'd say for perhaps not all, but the great majority of our cases, our eventual goal in them is either the 100% scheduler rating, but more often our goal is to get individual unemployability for these veterans. I
wow.
would say that's our goal in 95% of our cases.
Okay. Okay. Any final thoughts you want to share?
Again, it is my favorite topic. I do want to encourage veterans, if they haven't heard about individual employability or haven't looked into it, please do, because you can be qualified for these benefits that you might not even been aware they exist. I spoke with a veteran the other day, and he received individual unemployability benefits after we told him about the program, and he wasn't even aware that it had existed, and now he's getting these benefits that he'd been entitled to for years and years. He just didn't know. So
Wow.
do some research. I mean, the VA is good at giving you headaches and making you jump through hoops, but sometimes they do come through, and this is one of the VA programs or benefits that I think is really helpful, and it really does apply to all sorts of different cases.
That's great advice. Thanks, Rachel. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
And we thank you for joining us. If you have any questions or want some additional information, please feel free to visit our website or call our office.